Hello and welcome to my video. Today we're going to be doing Aladdin for the Sega Mega Drive versus Aladdin for the Super Nintendo. There are major differences in the game, but that is obvious because one was made by Capcom and one was made by Virgin Games Interactive. So there are massive differences, but today I'm just going to compare gameplay, graphics and sound. So let's get on with it and let's start with the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin. So let's compare the cutscenes from the Super Nintendo version to the Sega Mega Drive version. As you can see, the animation is absolutely brilliant on the Super Nintendo version. For the Super Nintendo, which is a 16-bit games console, it's absolutely brilliant. You could think to yourself, that's very film-like on the animation, very well done by Capcom indeed. And now, I think it follows the storyline of the film absolutely perfect. There's no editing or any changes to the storyline. It just literally follows the film perfectly. So the cutscenes are excellent on the Super Nintendo version. So now let's take a look at the Sega Mega Drive version. Okay, so now let's talk about the Sega Mega Drive cutscenes. As you can see, the Sega Mega Drive cutscenes are nowhere near as impressive as the Super Nintendo cutscenes. All you're getting is writing and a couple of pictures. Nowhere near as good. The animation on the Super Nintendo one was far superior. So in this category, cutscenes is going to Super Nintendo. So 1-0 Super Nintendo. So let's talk about the graphics and start off with the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin. As you can see, the graphics are pretty damn impressive. It replicates the cartoon and the film very well. Aladdin itself is well animated, and to Capcom's credit, they didn't have the help of Disney when they did this game. They did the graphics and everything by themselves. And with the Sega Mega Drive version, Virgin Games had the assistance of Disney animators. So in terms of graphics, I think this is very well done by Konami, and the graphics you can't really complain about. They look very good, and you know, there's nothing really to complain about. I mean, the animation is very good. When he runs, his jacket moves with the wind, so the animation is very good as well. And he jumps, it's all well done. It does a little bit lacking colour on the graphics, especially on level 1, but besides that, I think the graphics are very well done by Konami, and there's not too much to complain about. So let's take a look at the Sega Mega Drive version of Aladdin and compare the graphics. The Sega Mega Drive version of Aladdin's graphics are nothing but awesome. They represent the cartoon and the film perfectly. There's plenty of colour, plenty of animation, and the animation on this is superior to the Capcom version, literally down to the fact that Disney animators got involved with the Sega version and Virgin Games when they made this game. So it can clearly see, and it shows that Disney animators have had an input on this version, because the graphics are way superior to Capcom's version. Aladdin itself looks bigger. He doesn't look so small like he does on the Super Nintendo version. It's got 10 times more colour, especially on level 1. What's really hard to explain as the Sega Mega Drive's colour palette is not as superior as the Super Nintendo one, but it really does show that they've used the colours and the animation perfectly, and they've pushed the Mega Drive to its limit on terms of animation and colour. So the graphics win goes to the Sega Mega Drive Aladdin. So as it's 1-1 at the moment, with graphics going to Sega Mega Drive and cutscenes going to Super Nintendo, let's talk about the sound quality. The sound quality is difficult to put a winner to, because the music on the Super Nintendo one obviously sounds better. You know, it might not be as loud as the Sega Mega Drive one, but the depth of the music sounds better. But the Sega Mega Drive version has voiceovers, so when you attack an enemy, you'll hear the voice of the enemy will either taunt you or make a noise that you hurt him and go ow or something like that. You don't hear any voice animation on the Super Nintendo version, so it's going to be hard to pick a winner here. But I'm going to have to go with the Sega Mega Drive version, because the sound output is louder on the music, and plus you get voice animation. So in terms of sound, it's going to the Sega Mega Drive, and now it's 2-1 to the Sega Mega Drive. Heading into the last category, which is gameplay. So now we've entered the category gameplay. Let's talk about the gameplay of the Super Nintendo version. I was pretty impressed with the Super Nintendo version. It's a very easy pick up and play game. You can kill enemies by jumping on them, what you can't do on the Sega Mega Drive version. The noticeable fact that he doesn't have a sword and he can't kill people with his sword is obviously noticeable, but that's down to Nintendo's family values, so they took the sword out of the game. You can still hit people with an apple, which is pretty impressive, as you can still do that in the Mega Drive version as well. Overall, the gameplay does run slower than the Sega Mega Drive, and I think there is a little bit of lag in the gameplay as well. When you press the buttons, it doesn't respond 100% properly. It's probably about half a second out sometimes, and that can be a bit frustrating. But overall, this is a solid platform game, and I quite liked it. It was probably easier to complete and to play than the Sega Mega Drive version. So that was the Super Nintendo version, and that was me talking about the gameplay. So now let's talk about the gameplay of the Sega Mega Drive version. Okay, so now let's talk about the Sega Mega Drive version. Well, this gameplay is a solid platform game, and it does run at a very fast pace, but I do find it to be a little bit annoying. There's no lag on it like there is on the Super Nintendo version, but I don't particularly like the gameplay that much. I mean, it's a good game, but it's not a fantastic platform game. Aladdin itself handles fine, there's no real complaints about it, but it's not perfect. It's not like Sonic the Hedgehog or anything, and I think the Super Nintendo one probably handles a little bit better than the Mega Drive version. It can be frustrating when you're trying to kill an enemy that's chucking things at you and you're on a rope and you're trying to hit him. That can be frustrating. You often get hit or by enemies what you think you've pressed the button in time but you haven't, so that's a little bit frustrating as well. But besides that, the gameplay is pretty damn good, especially for a film game like the Aladdin is. And compared to the Super Nintendo one, it probably just edges it a little bit because it doesn't have any lag and it runs at a faster pace. So I'm going to have to slightly favour the Sega Mega Drive one, but there's not much in it. They're both fantastic games to play. They're not the best platform games you're going to get on any system, but they are both good platform games and solid platform games to play. But the Sega Mega Drive one just slightly edges it because it runs at a faster pace, and Aladdin does handle a little bit better, just mainly down to it doesn't have any lag. But I do like both, and it's hard to pick which one because I played both quite a bit. But the Sega Mega Drive one is my favourite one of both. So the Sega Mega Drive wins this category, overall wins 3-1, and the Sega Mega Drive version of Aladdin is the best one to get. So if you're a fan of Aladdin and you want to play it, pick it up and play it for the Sega Mega Drive. But that's not to say don't check it out on the Super Nintendo as well, because it is a solid game. Thanks for watching, and see you next time for some more awesome videos.